Tom was just a technician from Earth. He fixed things, wires, lights, old machines. He lived in a quiet town and worked at a small spaceport, cleaning dusty panels and making sure ships didn't fall apart. Nothing exciting ever happened to him. But one morning, something strange arrived in his inbox. It was a golden message, glowing faintly on his screen. It read, "You have been selected to attend the Intergalactic Unity Summit at Vieira Prime. Transportation arranged. Departure. 48 hours. Tom blinked. He thought it was a scam. Earth wasn't even very important in galactic matters. Humans had only joined the Galactic Union a few years ago, and even then, they mostly just listened and kept quiet. Why would someone like him be invited to a summit full of alien leaders and scholars? He asked his boss, but the boss just laughed and said maybe they need someone to fix their spaceship toilets. Still, Tom was curious. He confirmed the invitation, and to his surprise, a real ship arrived 2 days later. Sleek and silver, it hummed softly as it landed near the port. The pilot was a four-eyed alien named Hearn, who welcomed Tom with a bow. "Honored guest," Hearn said. "The stars await you." Tom packed one bag, brought some snacks, and followed the alien onto the ship. As they flew through space, Hearn explained that the summit was held once every 10 years. It brought together species from across the galaxy, rulers, thinkers, and dreamers. But this year, something was different. Seat had been left empty, till Tom's name appeared. "No one knows why you were chosen," Hearn said. "But fate is strange." When the ship landed on Vieira Prime, Tom stepped out into a massive space station made of crystal and light. It floated near a bright blue star, with windows showing distant planets and dancing comets. The inside was filled with creatures of every shape, some tall and glowing, others small and floating, many wearing robes and speaking in musical voices. Tom felt like a fish in the wrong ocean. His plain clothes and nervous smile didn't match the beauty around him. He walked quietly, staying near Hearn, who guided him toward the welcome hall. The hall was huge, like a stadium with golden pillars and banners from every known planet. Seats were arranged in a circle, with a large open space in the center. Music played softly as delegates took their places. Tom sat at a small table marked Earth. He was the only one there. Then everything went silent. A slow, rising sound echoed through the hall like wind and bells. The lights dimmed, and a group of tall, silver-armored guards entered. Behind them walked a figure taller than anyone Tom had ever seen. She wore a long robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her skin was a soft lavender, and her hair floated behind her like silk in water. A crown of stars circled her head. This was Queen Valari of the Zalari Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful rulers in the galaxy. As she walked past the alien leaders, they bowed deeply. Some whispered greetings, others stayed silent out of respect. When she reached Earth's table, she stopped. Tom stood up awkwardly, unsure if he was supposed to bow or salute or say something. Valari looked at him with bright, curious eyes. She leaned slightly forward and asked, in perfect galactic common, "Are you single, human?" The entire hall went still. Someone dropped a glass. A bird-like alien fainted onto the floor. Whispers flew like lightning across the room. Tom's mouth opened and closed. He wasn't sure he had heard her right. He looked around. Everyone was staring at him. Yes, he said, voice shaky. Valera's lips curled into a small, mysterious smile. "Interesting," she said softly, then turned and walked toward her throne at the center of the hall. Tom sat down slowly, his face turning. Red Hearn, who had taken a seat behind him, leaned forward and whispered, "I think she likes you." Tom whispered back, "I think I want to go home." After the welcome ceremony, many aliens came to Tom's table. Some asked questions. Others just stared. One creature with 6 legs tried to smell his hair. Tom answered as best he could, feeling more like a zoo exhibit than a guest. A floating cube translated for a fish-like being who asked, "Oh, what makes you attractive to a queen?" Tom replied, "I don't know. I fix things." The cube repeated the words, The fish being blinked and said, "Strange, but beautiful." Later that evening, a silver drone arrived at Tom's guest room, carried a note with a royal seal. Human. Guest Tom, you are invited to speak with Queen Valari in the Garden of Stars. Midnight. Tom stared at the message for a long time. Is this a date? He asked aloud. The drone beeped but did not answer. At midnight, Tom followed glowing lights through a quiet hallway. The Garden of Stars was a huge room with plants from every corner of the galaxy. Flowers floated in the air. Trees whispered in languages he couldn't understand. Soft mist made everything look like a dream. Valari stood near a silver fountain. Looking up at a holographic sky filled with moving stars, she turned when she heard him. "Welcome, human," she said. Tom bowed slightly. "Thank you for inviting me, Your Highness. You may call me Valari," she said. "Titles are for walls, not gardens." Tom smiled nervously. "I'm just Tom." Valari walked slowly beside him. "Tell me, Tom, do you know why you are here?" "No," he answered honestly. "I thought it was a mistake." "It was no mistake," she said. "I felt something when I saw your name. A signal, a warmth. My people search for logic and perfection, but sometimes the heart chooses something unexpected." Tom didn't know what to say. He looked at her, glowing in the starlight, and wondered what his life had just turned into. Valari looked at him kindly. "Do not be afraid. The galaxy is old, but it still has surprises." Tom chuckled. "I'm definitely surprised." Smiled again. "Good." They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the stars move overhead. Something strange had begun, and neither of them knew just how much the galaxy was about to change. Tom woke up the next day still wondering if everything was real. Silver walls of his guest room, the floating bed, the soft music coming from the ceiling, it all felt like a dream. But the golden card on his table reminded him it was real. He had met an alien queen. She had asked if he was single, and now the whole station was talking about it. Tom walked carefully into the main hall of Vera Prime. Aliens from every corner of the galaxy stared as he passed. Some whispered to each other, some smiled. A few nodded politely. Tom tried to smile back, but he felt like a bug under a microscope. A friendly alien named Gioloa, round being with glowing eyes, rolled up beside him. "Tom from Earth," Gillo said in a happy voice. "You are very famous now." Tom scratched his head. For what? Just standing there and being confused? Gillo giggled. Exactly. That's what made it so charming. Before Tom could reply, a group of official-looking aliens approached. They wore golden robes and moved with importance. One of them, a tall creature with thin arms and crystal-like skin, spoke clearly. "Tom of Earth, the Queen Valari requests your presence in the royal chambers." Tom's eyes widened. Again, the crystal being nodded. "She has questions, and she wishes to know you better." Tom followed the group nervously through glowing halls and tall doors until they reached the Queen's private chambers. 2 guards stepped aside, and Tom walked into a quiet room filled with soft lights and tall windows showing the stars. Queen Valari stood at a table made of living glass. She looked calm, graceful, and slightly amused. "Good morning, Tom," she said. "Good morning, Queen Valari," he replied, remembering her words from last night. "I trust you slept well." Tom nodded. "Yes, though it's hard to sleep when half the galaxy is staring at you." Valari smiled gently. "They are not used to surprises, and you, Tom, are a very unexpected surprise." Tom sat on a small floating chair as she offered him something to drink. It looked like glowing tea. Valari sat across from him. "You were wondering why I spoke to you yesterday a little?" Tom admitted. "I'm just a technician. I fix wires and carry tools. I'm not a leader or warrior." "Exactly," Valari said. "That is why I spoke to you." Tom looked confused. Valari continued, "For hundreds of years, my people have looked for perfection. We train, we study, we control our feelings, but we have lost something human." Tom raised an eyebrow. Something human? Yes, she said. Curiosity, humor, the ability to see beauty in small things. When I saw you standing alone, unsure but still polite, I felt something warm. It reminded me that there is more to life than titles. And strength, Tom blinked. You're saying I reminded you of feelings? Valari nodded. My advisors do not understand. They think in logic. But I lead with both mind and heart. Tom looked down at his cup. So when you asked if I was single, was that a real question? Valari laughed softly. Yes, Tom, it was. Later that day, Tom was walking back to his room when a group of alien reporters surrounded him. Floating cameras hovered above their heads. Human guest, Tom, one reporter asked, is it true you are now a royal suitor? Do you plan to marry Queen Valari? Asked another. Does Earth support this union? Came a third voice. Tom held up his hands. Whoa, I'm just here to attend the summit. I'm not tuplanding anything, the reporters kept asking, but Tom walked away quickly, his face red dot inside. His room, he sat down and sighed. I just wanted to see cool technology, he muttered. Now I'm being treated like a prince. Soft knock came at his door. It opened slightly, and Hearn, the four-eyed pilot who brought him here, peeked in. Mind if I come in? Hearn asked. Please, Tom said. Hearn sat down and handed Tom a small glowing tablet. The news is everywhere, Hearn said. Across 12 star systems, people are talking about the Queen's question. Some are confused, some are excited. Tom shook his head. I don't get it. Why is everyone so shocked? Can a queen like whoever she wants? Looked thoughtful? She can. But she never has. She has never chosen anyone outside her empire, let alone a human. Tom leaned back in his chair. I didn't mean to start a royal scandal, Hearn smiled. Sometimes the best stories begin by accident. That evening, Tom received another message, this time from the Galactic Council. It was formal and serious. To Tom of Earth, as a guest of honor now recognized by multiple parties, you are requested to take part in the Cultural Understanding Challenge. This event tests the values and character of individuals from across the galaxy. Tom read it twice. A challenge. What kind of challenge? Hearn explained. It's a test. Not of strength, but of heart, mind, and culture. Each delegate must answer questions or solve tasks that show how they think. You will be representing humanity. Tom's eyes widened. Me? Represent Earth. You're already doing it, Hearn said. Now they want to see more. Tom swallowed nervously. Do I have to fight? No. But you may need to think quickly and be true to yourself. Tom looked out the window at the stars. I guess I'll try. As the sun set behind the glowing rings of Viera Prime, Queen Valari stood quietly in her tower. One of her advisors, a tall Zelleri named Vosser, spoke beside her. Your Highness, the other leaders are watching. They do not understand your interest in this human. Valari nodded slowly. That is because they do not understand humans. Elzer bowed. You risk your image, even your power. Valari turned to him, calm and firm. Then let them watch. Let them learn. Tom may not be strong or noble by their rules, but he carries something rarer. Vosar raised his head. And what is that? Valari answered softly. Kindness. Tom stood nervously in the preparation room. His hands were shaking a little. A small screen in front of him showed the words, Cultural. Understanding challenge begins in 10 minutes. He had never taken part in a challenge like this before. He didn't even know what kind of test it would be. All he knew was that many alien leaders would be watching, and he would be the first human ever to take part. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a politician. He was just Tom, a technician from Earth, who could fix broken doors and clean ship filters. And yet today, he was the face of humanity. Outside, the Grand Hall of Wisdom was full. Delegates from over 50 alien species were seated in curved rows around a glowing stage. Giant floating orbs displayed the faces of each participant. At the center stood a round platform with strange symbols on the floor. Queen Valari sat on, her throne at the far end, calm and silent. Her eyes were fixed on the stage. Her advisors stood behind her, some looking worried, others confused. A voice echoed through the hall. Today we witness the Cultural Understanding Challenge. Each species will present a mind to represent their world. It will test their wisdom, values, and ways of thinking. Let us begin. Tom was called first. As he stepped onto the platform, a quiet murmur moved through the hall. Some aliens tilted their heads. Others blinked or adjusted their viewing screens. Tom cleared his throat. "Hi, I'm Tom. I work with tools. And, I'm from Earth." There was silence. Then the announcer spoke again. "Human representative. You will face 3 tasks. One of logic, one of empathy, one of creativity. Begin." Task 1. The logic puzzle A panel opened on the floor, and a strange object rose into view. It was a metal cube with spinning symbols. A glowing voice said, "This ancient lock hides a message. Rotate the sides and match the patterns. Most fail in 10 minutes. Time begins now." Tom stepped closer. The cube was complex. Shapes moved in strange ways. He touched one side, and a triangle shifted into a circle. He tried again, but the pieces kept turning unexpectedly. He frowned, thinking. Then he smiled. "Wait," he muttered. "You're not meant to solve it like a computer?" Instead of forcing it, Tom spun the cube gently, watching how the lights responded. He started humming to himself and moved the pieces like a child playing a game. After a few minutes, the cube flashed blue and opened with a soft chime. A small hologram appeared, saying, "Peace begins with patience." The crowd clapped politely. "Interesting method," said one of the judges. He played with it, whispered. Another, not attacked it. Task 2. The empathy test. The next test showed a hologram of a sad alien child sitting beside a broken toy. A voice said, "This is a young being from the planet Neora. She lost her toy in a storm. You may speak with her. Help her feel better." Tom knelt down and looked at the little holographic girl. "Hi there," he said gently. The girl sniffled. "My toy's broken. It was my friend." Tom nodded slowly. "That's hard, I remember. When I lost my first radio, it made a funny noise when I turned it on, and it felt like it understood me." The girl looked up. "You had a radio?" "Yes," Tom smiled. "It was old, but I loved it. When it stopped working, I felt lonely too." The girl's eyes sparkled. "What did you do?" "I kept it on my shelf," Tom said. "Then I made a new one from parts. Didn't make the same noise, but it reminded me of the first one. Sometimes making something new helps your heart heal." The girl smiled. "Can you help me fix my toy?" "Let's try," Tom said. The hologram faded. A voice spoke. "Test complete. Response: gentle, honest, relatable." Even some of the strict judges nodded in approval. Task 3. The Creativity Challenge A table appeared in front of Tom. It held different objects: a spoon, a wire, 2 small wheels, a clear ball, and a piece of cloth. A voice said, "Create something. Useful or entertaining. You have 5 minutes." Tom stared at the items. He didn't panic. Instead, he picked them up one by one. He looked at the spoon and the wire, and his eyes lit up. He bent the wire around the spoon's handle. Then he attached the wheels to each end, using the cloth as a flag on top. When he finished, he rolled the tiny thing across the table. The audience leaned forward. It was a racing spoon with wheels. Tom laughed and said, "It's a game. Spoon racing. 2 people can build their own and race them across the table. You can decorate the flags too." A silence filled the room. Then a small alien child in the audience shouted, "I want to try!" Suddenly other aliens smiled. Some even chuckled. One judge laughed out loud. "He turned scraps into play," said a voice. "This is very human." When the challenge ended, Tom stepped off the stage, unsure how to feel. He didn't win a trophy. There was no scoreboard. But the reaction from the crowd was gentle, kind, nods of respect, miles of curiosity. "Back in the hallway, Queen?" Valari was waiting. She said nothing at first, just looked at him with her shining eyes. Then she said, "That was not what I expected." Tom rubbed his neck. Was it bad? No, she said with a soft smile. It was beautiful. Later that night, news spread across the station. Human passes galactic challenge with laughter and kindness. Earth's creativity shines. At Summit, the human did not fight. He played. Aliens began visiting Earth's section of the station. They asked about games, stories, art, and ideas. For the first time, many saw humans as more than newcomers. They saw them as something special. The next morning, Tom sat alone at a table near the tall window of his room. Outside, stars slowly moved across the sky of Vera Prime. His spoon-racing toy was sitting on the table beside his half-eaten breakfast. The room was quiet. But Tom's mind was full of noise. He had done well in the Cultural Understanding Challenge. People had clapped, laughed, and smiled at his spoon game. News reporters said kind things about him. Some aliens even asked him to teach them how to build silly toys. But despite all that, Tom didn't feel happy. He remembered walking past a group of alien delegates after the event. He'd heard whispers and quiet laughter. A spoon with wheels? That's what they sent from Earth? He's not a diplomat. He's a joke. How can the Queen take him seriously? Tom knew they weren't being loud. They probably thought he wouldn't hear. But he did. He had smiled on the outside. He had kept walking. But the words stayed in his heart like tiny stones in his shoe. Later, that day, he walked into the quiet hall near the gardens. The sky above the glass roof was soft purple now. Glowing flowers were opening slowly. He found Queen Valari, standing near a tall blue tree, reading something from a floating screen. When she noticed him, she smiled warmly. "Tom," she said, "you walked like a man carrying clouds." Tom tried to smile back, just thinking. She turned off her screen and walked with him under the glowing leaves. "You were brilliant yesterday," she said. "The way you solved each task was unexpected and pure." Tom didn't answer right away. He looked at a small silver butterfly flying near the flowers. "Some of the others think I'm just funny," he said quietly. Like I don't belong. Here, like I'm just entertainment." Valari turned toward him. Serious now. "And do you believe that?" "I don't know," he said. "I know I'm not powerful. I didn't train in leadership. I never flew a spaceship. I don't speak 10 languages. I just fix things and make silly stuff with spoons." Valari stepped closer. Her voice was calm but strong. "Tom, do you know how many rulers, scholars, and warriors I have met?" He shook his head. "Thousands," she said. Almost all of them were the same, serious, proud, and afraid of laughter. You are not like them." Tom looked up. "Is that good?" "It is rare," she said. "And sometimes rare things are what the galaxy needs most." They sat on a bench near the glowing stream. The water made soft music as it flowed over crystal stones. Valari told him a story. "A long time ago," she said, "my people believed only those who never made mistakes could rule. They trained children to hide emotion, to speak only after thinking carefully. They were taught to never show fear or joy." "Did it work?" Tom asked. "For a while," she said. "But soon, we lost something. We forgot how to dream. We stopped creating art. We stopped singing. And then, we forgot how to be kind." Tom listened quietly. "My own father was a great king," Valari continued, "but he never once laughed in public. He believed laughter was weakness." "And what do you believe?" Tom asked. "I believe laughter is a sign of hope," she said. "When someone laughs, it means they still believe things can be better." Tom smiled softly. "That's a nice way to put it." Valari looked at him closely. "Do not let cold minds shrink your heart, Tom. What you bring to this summit is not small. It is human, and it is needed." Later that evening, Tom walked through the public area of the station. This time, he didn't hide from the stares. A small green alien child ran up to him holding a spoon on wheels. "Look," the child said, giggling. "Mine goes faster." Tom knelt and smiled. "You added 2 spoons. Clever." Other aliens began gathering around, asking about Earth stories, Earth games, and Earth inventions. Tom found himself talking about paper, airplanes, hide and seek, and building model rockets from bottles. Eyes widened. Some took notes. Others started building their own toys from scraps. The hall, once filled with serious talk, was now alive with laughter and curiosity. In the observation room above, Queen Valari stood with her advisor, Voss-R. Voss-R frowned. This is not how summits usually go. No, Valari agreed. It's becoming playful, he said, almost disapproving. Valari looked at the smiling aliens below. And yet they are learning more now than they ever did in meetings. Voser paused. Still, some leaders are not pleased. They say this human is not worthy of your attention. Valari turned to him. Then they are afraid. Because Tom reminds them of what they have forgotten. That night, Tom sat in his room, writing a message to his friend back on Earth. He didn't know if it would reach in time, but he wanted to share his thoughts. Hey Joe, you won't believe where I am. I'm sitting in a room bigger than our whole house. I talked to a queen. I played with alien kids. I made a game out of a spoon. Some folks here think I'm silly, but maybe silly is what they need. Maybe silly is smart in its own way. Anyway, I'm still just me. Just Tom. But I think that might be enough. He smiled, pressed send, and looked out the window one more time. The stars didn't laugh or whisper, but somehow they felt a little closer to night. The next morning, Tom woke to the soft hum of the space station. Light from distant stars streamed through the tall windows, painting the room in shades of blue and silver. He stretched and tried to push away the nervous feeling. Growing inside him, word was spreading fast about the human who had impressed the galaxy with his kindness and creativity. But not everyone was happy. Later that day, while Tom was walking toward the dining hall, a tall figure stepped in front of him. The being wore a dark cloak embroidered with silver threads, and his sharp eyes glinted with cold pride. I am Lord Threx, the alien said, voice low and clear. You are the human the Queen favors. Tom nodded carefully. That's me. Threx smiled, but it was not friendly. You walk in light, human, but do you know what the shadows hide? My people have ruled the Zelari Empire for centuries. We value strength, honor, and tradition. You are an outsider. Tom looked up. I'm not here to fight. I just want to learn. Threx laughed, a sharp sound that echoed in the hallway. Then prove it. There is to be a contested duel of honor, a test of mind and skill. If you win, you stay in the summit. If you lose, you leave. Tom swallowed. A duel? He had no weapons, no training. But then Threx added no swords, no fists. A contest of logic and wit. A battle of words. In riddles. Do you accept? Tom took a deep breath. Yes, I accept. The duel was set for the next day in the Hall of Wisdom. Delegates from many species filled the room, eager to see if the human could stand against the proud Zelari noble. Queen Valari sat at the front, watching with calm eyes. Tom felt her silent support like a warm shield. Threx stood tall, his cloak shimmering under the lights. He spoke first. Human, prepare yourself. The ancient game of Nullwrath will decide your fate. It is a battle of puzzles and riddles. May the cleverest win. The rules were simple. Each would ask the other a riddle. The opponent must answer correctly or lose. Threx went first. He asked, I speak without a mouth, hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I? I thought carefully. The hall was silent except for the soft hum of lights. He smiled an echo. Crowd murmured approval. Threx nodded and said, correct, your turn. Tom thought of a riddle from Earth, something simple but tricky. He asked, what has keys but can't open locks? Eyes narrowing. Seconds passed. Then he said, a piano. Tom smiled. Correct. The duel continued, each riddle more challenging than the last. Threx's questions were old and sharp, testing memory and logic. Tom's riddles were simple, but they had a twist of humor and imagination. At one point, Threx asked a very difficult question about the stars and their patterns. Tom admitted he did not know. Threx smirked. Your turn is over. Tom took a deep breath and asked something different. What can fill a room but takes no space? Threx blinked. Minutes passed as he thought. Finally he answered, light. The crowd gasped. Tom smiled again. Good, he said. Here's one more. Tom looked at the room and asked the most important riddle he knew. What is stronger than power, softer than silk, and can change the hardest heart? The hall was silent. Threx stared, then shook his head. Words, he guessed. Tom nodded. Words can change minds without fighting. The crowd erupted in quiet applause. The duel was over. Queen Valari stood and spoke. Lord Threx, you fought with pride and strength. Human Tom, you fought with heart and wisdom. Both are valuable. But today, the human has shown us something rare. The power of kindness and cleverness. Threx bowed his head, but his eyes burned with quiet anger. Tom felt tired but proud. He had won not by fighting, but by thinking. After the duel, many delegates came to congratulate Tom. Some offered friendship, others asked about Earth games and stories. Tom realized that the duel was more than a test, it was a bridge. Later, Valari invited Tom to walk with her in the Unity Gardens. You did well, she said softly. Tom looked at her. I couldn't have done it without you. Valari smiled. You did it with yourself. That is what matters. As they walked, Tom felt the heavy weight of the galaxy slowly lift. He was not just a joke or an outsider. He was a human, and that was enough. The Great Hall was packed. Delegates from many planets filled every seat, their colorful robes shining under the bright lights. The air buzzed with quiet conversations and soft footsteps. Today was the final day of the Intergalactic Unity Summit, and all eyes were on Queen Valari. She was to make a choice, a decision that would surprise the galaxy. Tom stood near the back of the hall, feeling the weight of the moment. He looked around and saw familiar faces, friends he had made. Curious aliens who had learned to smile at his jokes, and a few who still doubted him. He wasn't sure what to expect. He had learned so much, but now it was time for Valari to decide if he would stay. The queen stepped onto the stage, her silver robes flowing behind her. The room fell silent. She spoke clearly, her voice strong and kind. Delegates, friends from across the stars, we have come to the end of this summit. It has been a time of learning, laughter, and growth. She paused, looking toward Tom. Among you stands a human named Tom, a simple technician from Earth. Some may see him as an outsider, but I see something more. Tom felt his heart beat faster. Valari continued, for centuries. My empire has chosen mates from among our own nobles, as tradition demands. But tradition is not always the best guide. She smiled softly. Tom has shown me a truth that many have forgotten, that strength comes not from power or pride, but from kindness, courage, and honesty. The crowd listened, some whispering, others nodding slowly. Valari raised her hand, and a soft blue light filled the room. I offer Tom a place not just as a guest, but as my partner by my side, as we build a future together. There was silence, then gasps. Some delegates looked shocked. Others smiled warmly. Tom's cheeks burned red. He didn't expect this. He stepped forward slowly, bowing his head. Your Highness, he said quietly, I am honored. I don't know if I am worthy, but I will do my best. Valari reached out and gently lifted his hand. Your worth is not measured by titles or strength, she said. It is measured by your heart. After the announcement, the hall burst into applause. Some leaders stood and clapped loudly. Others offered respectful bows. A few still looked unsure. But no one spoke against the queen openly. Tom felt the eyes of the galaxy on him. It was both frightening and exciting. Later, Valari and Tom walked together in the Unity Garden, a peaceful place filled with glowing plants and soft light. Tom asked, Will your people accept me? Valari smiled. Some will, some won't. But the future is made by those who dare to change. Tom nodded slowly. I'm ready to try. Valari looked at him kindly. Good, because the galaxy needs more than old traditions. It needs hope. That night, Tom wrote a message home. Dear friends, I never imagined I would be standing beside a queen. But here I am. It feels strange and wonderful all at once. I've learned that being human is about more than technology or strength. It is about kindness and courage. I hope Earth will be proud, because this is only the beginning. He looked out the window at the stars and smiled. The galaxy was wide and full of stories, and now he was part of one. A soft golden light filled the skies of Vieira Prime as the summit came to an end. The station that once echoed with serious speeches and quiet judgment now hummed with laughter, music, and the quiet buzz of change in the garden of floating flowers. Starlight danced across crystal leaves. Tom stood beside Queen Valari. Her hand rested gently in his, and her voice was calm, as always. It's amazing, Tom said, quietly. Just a few days ago, I was cleaning solar panels and fixing old wires on Earth, and now, Valar asked, looking at him with a soft smile. Tom looked up at the stars. Now I'm standing with the Queen of the Zalari Empire, in a place I didn't even know existed. Valari squeezed his hand gently. Sometimes the stars choose their own paths. The announcement of Valari's choice had spread across the galaxy faster than light signals. On Earth, news channels played the scene again and again. Alien Queen chooses human partner technician from Earth to join Royal Council. Some people were surprised. Some laughed. Others were proud. Many had questions. Why him? What does it mean for Earth? Can humans truly live among stars? But as the days passed, Earth began to understand something simple and powerful. Tom had not been chosen for wealth or strength. He had been chosen because of who he was, a kind, honest, simple man who saw the beauty in small things, and sometimes that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Back at the summit station, Tom was being prepared for the royal joining ceremony. It was not a wedding, nor a political bond. It was something in between. A public promise of unity between two people, two worlds. The Zalari tailors brought soft robes made of light fabric that changed color in starlight. A small floating mirror adjusted the collar until it was perfect. Tom looked at himself and shook his head. I still feel like a repair guy pretending to be fancy. Hearn, the four-eyed pilot who had first brought him to Vera Prime, chuckled. You are still the same, Tom, he said. That is why this matters. Tom smiled nervously. Thanks, Hearn. I hope I don't trip over my own feet during the ceremony. You do, Hearn replied with a grin. Make it part of the performance. The ceremony took place in the Hall of Unity, a grand dome with a view of space above. Delegates, citizens, and leaders from all across the galaxy filled the seats. Valari stood tall, wearing her star crown and silver robe, but her smile was soft, warm, and full of peace. Tom stepped forward, heart beating fast. As he walked down the glowing path toward her, he saw not just aliens, but friends. Gilo, the round glowing alien who once called him charming. The small, green child who raced spoons with him. Even Lord Threx, who once challenged him, stood in silence. Offering a quiet nod of respect, Verla spoke first. Today, she said, we do something new. We show that love, trust, and unity are not bound by species, power, or pride. She looked at Tom. We choose hope. Tom cleared his throat. I don't have fancy words. I'm not from royalty. But I believe in listening, in laughing, in helping each other. If that makes me different, I hope it's in a good way. The crowd was silent. Then Valari took his hand, and the hall glowed with light. A symbol appeared above them. New crest combining the ancient star of the Zalari Empire and the simple earth symbol of a blue sphere. Together, it meant unity without fear. After the ceremony, there was a celebration like no other. Aliens danced in their own styles. Some floated, some spun, others moved in circles like waves. Music filled the station from every direction. Tom joined in awkwardly at first, but soon he was laughing and learning dances with creatures from worlds he had never imagined. Food from 100 planets was shared. Someone handed Tom a glowing fruit that tasted like ice cream and fire at the same time. Another offered a drink that changed color with every sip. Children played spoon racing games in the halls. Delegates who once stood stiff and formal were now smiling and talking like old friends. Later, Tom and Velar walked together on the viewing deck. The stars looked close enough to touch. Velar said, "You've changed something." Tom looked surprised. "Me, yes," she said. "You reminded us all that even in a world of technology and power, we must not forget joy, care, and simplicity." Tom looked out at the stars. Sometimes small things carry big meaning. Valari nodded, and small people too. Both laughed in the weeks that followed. Tom took his place beside Valeri, not just as a partner, but as a bridge between two worlds. He suggested ideas no one expected: story-sharing nights, open games between species, creative building contests, using leftover parts from stars. At first, the nobles were unsure, but slowly, even the oldest and strictest began to smile. Something new was growing in Empire that did not fear laughter. Tom also worked to help Earth. He spoke to its leaders, invited students and builders to visit the stars, and reminded everyone that being human was not a weakness, it was a gift. One evening, as he sat in the garden with Valari, Tom looked up. "Do you think this will last?" he asked. Valari smiled. "If we protect it with care, patience, and heart, it will grow stronger." Tom looked at her and said, "Then let's make sure it does." They sat in silence, the stars glowing above them, not as strangers, but as partners. Together, they had started something new, and the galaxy was watching and learning.